what day are we going to do the Thanksgiving baskets?
Believe it's the 25th. It's a Wednesday, the day before Thanksgiving.
Okay.
So, and I have confirmed with Alicia that they are set up and planning on doing the baskets at kind of a drive-through type event there at East Valley. So that'll be good. Anybody have any other announcements they want to make? Going. Okay. All right. Well, those are all the announcements I have. And Jose, have you heard anything from Tijuana? You have to unmute, Jose.
Yeah, we're gonna have him on October the 14th.
On the 14th is when they can come in?
Well, they're gonna give a report of what they're doing. But if it is okay, I could send them the info for a Zoom so they could join us on the meeting.
Okay. I will shuffle some things around then, because the 14th we're going to have, well, we've got Yolanda, and then I was going to do Joe Priscilla's craft talk to get him done before the governor came in, so that he got his stuff done. But we can do the craft talk and them, I think, the same time. And we can do Yolanda maybe next week with Ryan. So I'll rearrange things there. So they're ready to attend the 14th?
Yeah.
And what, about 15 minutes, you think? Is that enough? Yeah, okay.
More than enough, yeah.
All right. I'm glad I asked.
Yeah, I was there this weekend. It was so beautiful. I was in Baja this past weekend.
Oh, you got down there. Good.
Yeah.
Good.
It's safer over there than it is here. It is. Every store that you go, they check your temperature, your hands, everything. And you got to wear a mask.
Yeah, well, they got hit pretty hard with it in the beginning, though.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, today I will move to introduce a new member, Mr. John Klena. I think you guys probably read most of it in the Trumpet. We are very excited to have him as a new member. He's been very active, and look forward to having him engaged in the future. And I'm looking forward to his craft talk, because just the write-up that he sent for the Trumpet really intrigued me. So I can't wait to get a little more meat on the bones.
Yeah, I didn't put in I was an ex-convict.
No.
I left that line out.
Yeah, no, you'll have to fill us in on that one.
Hold on, let me let the police in right now. Hold on. All right, how you guys doing?
All right, yep, go for it, John.
All righty. All right, so, you know, what I wanted to do is kind of bring everybody through my upbringing and my current family, and then switch it over to my business life and go through the business part of things and let you know what I've been doing my whole life. Okay, so first of all, you know, youngest of 7 kids. Mom and dad both came over to America. I had to call my sister Mary this morning to get a lot of these details. But my dad was born in Ford City, Pennsylvania, outside of Pittsburgh. He came over from Czechoslovakia. And my mom came to America in 1939 from Holland. Her dad had an import-export business in Europe, and then came over to New York. He was in the textile business, and they lived in Great Neck area, Long Island, New York. Mom and dad came to California in 1948 from New York. My dad, they met on a train in New York City. He was actually a musician. He was a trombone and bass player for the Leo Reisman Orchestra at the Waldorf Astoria in New York City. I guess she saw him one time on stage wanted to meet them, and next thing you know, they ditched both their families and left California. So so they ended up in Westchester, out by LAX. They moved to West Covina in 1955. They had 7 kids. My oldest brother and sister, Bob and Linda, they're twins. They're 69 years old. Carol is 64 years old. Mary is 62. Rich is 60. Tim is 58, and I'm 54. Bob, Linda, and Carol and Mary all went to St. Christopher's Elementary School, and then we switched to public school after that. So that's kind of the history of our family. Grew up in a modest neighborhood on Walnut Creek Parkway in West Covina, little 3-bedroom, 2-bath house. We had 2 bunk beds in the boys' room with 4 boys, 3 girls in the other one, mom and dad in the other one. And we'd walk to school, West Covina High School. Walnut Creek Parkway is where you got Carl's Jr.'s and Baskin Robbins there. It used to be the old Wicks Furniture, Taco Paco, Capri Theaters. That was our stomping grounds. So throughout all the years, the boys, we all went to El Dorado Elementary School. Now it's a bunch of houses over there on Azusa. And then we went to Cameron Junior High and then West Covina High School. We all played regular baseball at Walmerado Park, which is between Edgewood and West Covina over there on Merced and over by Merced and Hacienda area. And we, to this day, all 4 of our boys hold the record for continuous years at Walmerado Park, 17 years straight. They had a Klena playing baseball over there. So that was kind of our thing. We were always active. Family was always in the sports, all the boys. And then it just escalated into, high school. And that was basically the real area where people got recognition. Back then, they didn't have travel ball around the clock and all that. It was basically American Legion and high school sports for baseball, but football, you'd have Pop Warner and tackle football in high school too. So my brothers went on, they all played football. My brother Tim went to Boise State football scholarship. He was a quarterback and a free safety. He was probably the best athlete of all the Klenas, well-rounded, 6'4", ran like a deer. He got the Scholar Athlete Award, Southern California, all CIF in 3 sports. So he was like the middle brother, but he was kind of the one that kept me in line. He was the one I was always, he's 58, I'm 54. So when he was leaving high school, I was getting into high school. I always had big shoes to fill. I wasn't the most gifted athlete. I was a late bloomer. I had size 12 feet as a freshman. I couldn't run. I was slow. If my front line didn't block, I was getting sacked. I mean, there was no way around it. And so, but I worked my butt off, and got through high school with sports. Played freshman year at Cal Poly Pomona for Skalinas. And that kind of was the deciding factor on what way I go in life. I was a good baseball player. We had nobody at home. All my brothers and sisters were out. Tim was in Idaho. My dad was very sick. He had a leaky valve to his heart when he was a young, like in his 30s. He wasn't supposed to live long. But he did live pretty long, but he had open heart surgery when I was like 10. And he got more sick and actually passed away when I was 18 and a half to 19. So that was a period there to where I had to be around for mom. The baseball program at Cal Poly Pomona, they canned they got rid of all their sports programs. The state of California pulled all their scholarship money, and Skelena's had to come to me and say, John, sorry, there's no scholarship, after they recruited me, and they actually won the World Series the year before. So I passed up a lot of good opportunities, but I still needed to stay close to home. You know, that was after Roman Gabriel was the head coach of the football program, and they closed that also. So at that point, my freshman year, I was playing and I was working and I was going to school. I did it for a year and a half. I'll get into my working years, but make a long story short, there's a time where I had a cannon for an arm. I was second string center fielder behind an All-American. He was a senior, I was a freshman, but I was burning around the clock. I was getting up at 6 in the morning. I had night school till 10 at night. I was working, playing ball during the day, and it lasted about a year and a half. I finally just said, you know what, my arm's always hurting. It's not going to make it, and you got to be good enough to be in Angel Stadium, or you got to basically just be reasonable to yourself if you're not going to be able to get there. So, you know, at that point, I started working. I left college. Actually, I was a little depressed at college too, because I was a good student. I was in business finance or business law, wrote the best midterm of my life and got a C+. And this guy writes on the chalkboard, nobody put what I wanted to hear. And there was like 35 of us in there. Half the class is crying. I got the third highest grade in the class with a C+. Everybody got B's and F's. And at that point, I was just like, you know what? I thought I killed it. And I just tanked it, obviously. But so I decided that, my current job, I'll switch gears a little bit. You know, through my upbringing to this day, I've been working straight since I was 8 years old. I've had paper routes with my brothers until I was 14. I scooped ice cream at Baskin Robbins. They give me any hours I want during football, during high school. But right when I graduated high school, that summer, I started working graveyard at the mobile station at Azusa and the 10 freeway, the old mobile station across from Shell and Perino's. And I was doing that and scooping ice cream and playing summer ball at Cal Poly. And one of my neighbors came through there like 1 in the morning and said, John, you can't be working here. You know, and I was a young kid, had a, pretty good build, so I wasn't afraid of much. But he said it's dangerous. The only thing you're gonna get is people that are drunk coming off the freeway and this and that. So he said, he goes, you got to get out of here. He goes, I got a buddy of mine that needs a driver for a lighting distributor in La Mirada. He'll give you any hours you want. So at that point, I switched gears. I started working in La Mirada, delivering lights for a company from 7 in the morning till 1. I was on the baseball field from 2 to 5:30, and then school from 6 to 10, homework at night, and back leaving in the morning at 6 in the next morning. I did it for a year and a half. Quit college when I started making money at a young age. I had a fortunate situation to where I had a salesman at that lighting company. He was a teacher. He was a high school teacher. He was selling lights during the summer and in the winter on commission, and he would just get checks sent to his house while he was teaching the rest of the year. Okay, so he had his accounts. And he told me one summer, he goes, John, I'll be back in the winter. Learn what you're delivering, and I'll take you on the streets to start selling. You'll make some money. I go, okay, good. So that winter, I put on my hush puppies, my corduroys, my tie, ready to go. Made a flyer for light bulbs and ballast, and we go knocking door to door. So I go into my to get that started, I go into my boss and say, hey, Randy, I want to start selling. And Jay's going to help me. And he goes, really? He goes, okay, so how do you want to do it? And I go, I don't know. He goes, well, think about it and let me know tomorrow. So I go to Jay. I go, Jay, Randy wants to know how I want to be paid. And he goes, well, do you need the money? I go, no, I'm living with mom. I'm going to school. At that point, I was still playing baseball. And he goes, okay. He goes, tell him that you'll pay all your own expenses, everything. It doesn't have to pay you a dime until you sell something, but you want 50% of the profit. I go, really? He goes, yeah, just tell him that. I go, okay. So I go in there, tell Randy, I just want 50% of the profit. And if I don't sell anything, you don't owe me nothing. He said, okay, sounds good. Well, my first order was with Boise Cascade. We went for the big warehouses. This old maintenance guy gives me, as a young kid, he gives me a $22,000 light bulb order with ballast. The profit was almost $12,000. I got $6,000 off of that one sale. And that was probably equal to 2.5 months of weekly payroll of delivering lights. So to make a long story short, I kept going with it. I was giving the family money. My dad passed away during that period. My mom needed help. Everybody needed help. I sent my truck to my brother, Tim. He was on a full ride scholarship at Boise. He could only work 2 months out of the summer for all year of money. He had a broken starter, couldn't fix his car for 4 months. He was bump starting it for 4 months in Idaho. So, make a long story short, I kind of looked at it as it's time to just go to work and that's it. So, at age 19 and a half, I bought a house, and it wasn't easy. I had very little credit. My mom couldn't afford the house she was in. She had to buy a mobile home with my dad's retirement and Social Security. She had to pay it cash. And they used the existing house we grew up as, every time they needed to pay for my sister's college or a wedding, they'd use it as a loan company. So they would refi and refi and refi. So they bought the house for $17,000, but when she had to get out of the house, she owed $68,000. So I guess that's how it works. But so she had to clear enough money to buy a mobile home cash. The house wasn't worth the difference. So to make a long story short, we both walked into the old home savings on Vincent, the big building, and we go to the lady. And I said, well, my accountant's telling me I got to buy a house. My mom has no income except my dad's $600 a month in retirement and some Social Security. But she's got to sell the house to me for $10,000 more than it's worth. And I got to buy it with no credit, but I got some money. The lady looks at us. She goes, okay. So my mom and dad had an account there for like 30 years. She lets me buy the house. She gives me the loan. She lets my mom co-sign for me. She clears enough money to buy a mobile home. So everybody got what they needed to get out of it. And without that whole situation, I don't even think I could have bought a house. But it just happened to work out that she had the longevity you needed in the history to help me out. So at that point, everything works out. I'm working. I got roommates. We're being crazy kids. We're to the river. We're sandbugging. We had it going on. We're all at Holiday Health Spa working out. We're doing it. A lot of names that Coach Mandela and maybe Dave knows, but we had a workout garage across the street, Dave Biddle, and everybody went there to work out. We had a lady that you guys might all know, Miss Costucci. She's an old timer from West Covina. Costucci lived right across the street from where we grew up. And I had the house now for my parents, so she knew our family. And I had 3 roommates that made some money, but nobody cared about the place. They just rented from me. So we had so many cars in the driveway that half the lawn was dead. The cars were parking on the lawn. I had a buddy of mine that was going to paint the outside of the house. So he stucco patches all the earthquake cracks on the outside of the house, but he doesn't come over to paint it for about 6 months. So now I got patch all over the house. So Miss Costucci walks over, knocks on the door, says, John, I need to know when you're going to really finish your house because it's bringing down the value of all the houses in the neighborhood. And I'm just like, I'm trying, Miss Costucci. I'm trying my hardest. I'm trying. We'll get it done. So within that time frame, I'm dating my wife now. And she's over at the house all the time. And we get engaged. And she tells me, she goes, John, I'm just telling you right now that I'm not moving into this house until you get it fixed up. And I'm like, you can only imagine 3 of my roommates. I kicked out a room. I didn't kick them out, but they all knew they had to leave. But one of my roommates left the bedroom. We pull his bed away from the wall. It's got a brown stain on the wall by his bed, all the way around his bed. I go, Jimmy, when was the last time you washed your bed sheets? Oh, he goes, oh, John, it's got to have been 6 months. I'm just like, come on, guys. So this is kind of young people not taking care of themselves, whatever. But my wife kicks us in the gear. They're all out. I remodel the inside. I remodel the outside. I re-pour the driveway, put in planters, put in sod. When I was done with this place, it was the best looking house in the whole blocks and blocks. Well, in that time frame of fixing up the house, Miss Costucci, her husband dies a year earlier, 2 years earlier. Mrs. Costucci's husband dies. And after that, she lets her house go to crap. Okay? So now I got the house on the block. And I'm looking at her dead grass, weeds all over the place, bad paint peeling. I go, I look at my wife, Lynn. I go, Lynn, I got to do it. She goes, what are you going to do? I go, I got to knock on Miss Costucci's door and tell her that her house is bringing my value of my house down. And she goes, you can't. I go, I got to do it. So I go over there. I go, Miss Costucci, can you please water your lawn and this and that? I go, my house right across the street. You're bringing the value down to my house and I really got to keep it up. She goes, I get it, John, thanks. So make a long story short, we move into that. We've been in the house. It's ready to go. I get married to a girl from South Hills High School. She was a crosstown rival. All my friends said you can't marry anybody from South Hills. They were always known to have all the good-looking girls, but they were always snooty to all of us at West Covina High School. So the nickname for a lot of people at South Hills was Soch Hills. So I was hearing it for years. You can't marry anybody from Soch Hills, and on and on and on and on. But Lynn has been a real good lady. She was a teacher. I was side by side with her when she was getting through Chapman College to finish up her schooling to become a teacher. She was a 4th grade teacher at Monte Vista Elementary over in West Covina, over there behind the old West Covina Auto Parts up, forget that street name, but it's like Puente and I forget that one, but La Puente Road or something like that over there. But so we would, we would go together to her classroom at night. Back then it was really a bad area. So I would kind of stand guard at the door while she would run in and get her stuff. We'd head back home. We dated for a few years. We started having kids. Derek is 29 years old. So we've been married 30. So he was delivered about a year after we were married. And now we have 3 kids. Derek is 29. Lauren is 27, and Dylan is 21. Derek, the oldest one, they all three went through, South Hills High School, Sierra Vista Middle School, and Monte Vista Elementary School right there. It's Monte Vista right there by South Hills, isn't it? Is that Monte Vista, or what is that? Which one? Your mic's off. Your mic's off.
I think that's Mesa, the one on Brangwyn.
Mesa, yeah, Mesa. So they went through Mesa, Sierra Vista, and then South Hills. And that was kind of the upbringing. I did a lot of coaching through all the Little League, travel ball, all that. I was a sports guy. I got kind of, I didn't get suckered into it, but I didn't know the type of life I was getting with this family. I'm a sports fanatic, and I raised the kids in sports, but it just so happens that, at 6 years old and being married to a teacher, it's all about self-esteem and be able to talk in front of people and this and that. So little Derek, while, I got him in the batting cage, killing him at 6 years old, he decides to go to, or my wife takes him to a little San Gabriel Valley theater group to try out for a little, spot in the Wiz, for a little theater show at Citrus College. So it's kind of like pay and play, $250. Your kid runs across stage, waves to grandma and grandpa, and everybody claps. Okay, so Derek does that. He gets a line or two. He's got to, function in front of a crowd. And after he's done with that show, the head guy for the group says, "Hey, Derek, we're doing Oliver next season. And if you learn how to sing, you could go out for Oliver." So all of a sudden my wife goes, "Okay, we got to get Derek singing lessons." I'm like, huh? What the heck is this all about? He's got to get some ground balls in, so he goes, takes some singing lessons from Linda Corwin, which was a fixture in the West Covina area. She was married to a Judge Mento in the area. And Linda Corwin was a really close friend. She ended up dying, I think, of pancreatic cancer about 5 to 10 years ago. Her name's on the Covina Playhouse sidewall, Linda Corwin Studios. But she was very talented. She was an opera singer, very good in theater. But she gave Derek singing lessons. She had him laid out on the floor, diaphragm, training and all that stuff. And next thing you know, Derek's singing. He gets Oliver. And he's doing shows side by side with sports all the way through professionally into college. And now he's on Broadway in New York City. So that's my oldest son. Broadway shut down, still lives there. He married his girlfriend he met his freshman year at UCLA. She's from Napa. She followed him out there, got an intern. She's a head buyer for Kate Spade out of New York City. She's in the big fashion industry. They just bought a condo on the Upper West Side by Central Park. And now that Broadway's shut down, he doesn't have any shows, but he is part of a few organizations that gives Zoom training to theater people or TV or commercials all around the world. He's a busy boy. And so he's done well. My daughter, Lauren, is still at home. She works with me most of the time. She stays busy on the side a little bit. And my youngest son, Dylan, just graduated Cal State Fullerton, and he's kind of out of business too. Everybody's trying to find some work, I guess. And I'm fortunate that I'm still rolling over here a little, pretty much. So that's kind of the kids thing, the family situation. Okay, so going into my business world, I was a salesman. One of my big moves in life, I feel, at a young age is working with the confidence in yourself, not always relying on anybody else. I could honestly say that I've made money for myself straight since I was 8 years old. I went to, went to Kansas with a friend of mine, Gary Beecher, which you guys know, Coach. Gary Beecher and his mom and grandma, we all four went on an Amtrak train when we were 12 years old to Kansas to see the great grandma. I saved up for a year for my own ticket with paper route money. So at that point, there was no money to go around. I always worked, and I feel that was kind of the stepping stone, a combination of always being hungry to survive and always being knocked around by my siblings and a stern mom and dad to keep us out of trouble. My dad was sick. I was popping off to my mom like a punk when I was in 8th, 9th grade. My brother Rich was benching 400 pounds, linebacker at Cal Poly. He gets the call from dad saying John's not listening to mom. He comes home and kicks my butt. It was that easy. All right. You give a mom a hard time, bam. All right. So, that's kind of the upbringing. There was never any drugs, smoking, drinking in the house. So that was, it was always, stay out of trouble type of mentality. And so we went through it all through high school and into working. Through all the working years. But I really do feel that being in a position to make it or break it has kind of been my motto, even to this day. I've always gone through the business world. I've sold on commission only. If I don't work, I don't eat. I worked for a few companies, and then right before we got married, I had a second on the house, and I'll never forget this. And this was a big deal. Is I had a second in the house. I had $50,000 in a checkbook because I knew I wanted to go into business on my own, and I wasn't going to touch that checkbook. And so when I was going to get married, I had to do a lot with cash without that checkbook. It was all within the same 6 months. I had to buy my wife a ring. I had to have money for fixing up the house. I had to have money for a honeymoon, but I could not touch that checkbook. So to make a long story short, I got people in the lighting industry looking for a business for me to buy, anybody to go for it. Well, a week before we're getting married, I get a call that an old-time distributor came down with brain cancer and the widow wants to sell. So I meet with the widow the week I'm getting married and work the deal with her. And so I go home to my future wife and I go, okay, Lynn, here's the deal. I got to buy this business, but if it goes south, I lose everything. I go, should we do it? She goes, heck yeah. Put it all out there. And I said, okay. And away we went. And, from that day forward, I've been on my own. No one to call. I've probably put up all my assets half a dozen times, all or nothing. Everybody that's been in business nowadays, you're not getting something without personal guarantees. Doesn't matter if you're a corporation. But from that day forward, I had a company in 1986, 87. The early 80s is when the big boom for energy efficiency came out. And this is where I'll start getting into where I came from. Energy efficient lighting in the early 80s was the transition from regular light bulbs to compact fluorescent bulbs. You got rid of the regular household bulb from, Thomas Edison, and you replaced it with either spiral bulbs or little compact fluorescents. You would change a 60-watt bulb and put in 13 watts of fluorescent, and that was your energy efficiency. And at that point in the early 80s into the mid 80s, Southern California Edison was rebating everybody. They were talking that the growth of the communities were all too fast. Their grids were going to be maxed out, and they were paying their customers, to change all their lighting. They're actually paying for the job. Okay, so in the early to mid 80s, I learned energy efficient lighting. I was kind of on the forefront of that whole business. I switched gears from calling on regular businesses to directing my efforts into multifamily housing. I picked that because that was the type of company I worked for before I had my own. And it was common area lighting that's on the Edison grid, but big apartment complexes. Okay, so it didn't have to do with a homeowner. It had to do with common area lighting with the energy services representatives from Edison that were rebating the homeowner associations. So back then they had the Donnelly directory, all the yellow pages. And Edison had offices from Ventura to the Mexican border. And I remember going to Donnelly directory and picking up a case of yellow pages, a case of books, and going through them and making 10 cold calls a day, just finding out what type of management companies there were out there. And my direction, my target was apartment complexes more than 100 units. Okay, because that was the size that it really meant a lot to. So during the whole rebate 5-year period, let's say, at the same time, all these energy services representatives from Edison are going out surveying and giving people money, giving associations money to switch over to energy efficient lighting. I'm building my customer base on the other side too. So over the years, I was selling lighting to about over 500 homeowner associations. Okay, I had a big portfolio of management companies that were managing big apartment complexes. So I had a friend at Edison, because they needed to hit their quotas. They were calling me saying, John, you have any leads? And at the same time, I was helping them because they didn't know lighting. I was telling them what to put in. And at the same time, they were scratching my back too, sending me leads. So it was going back and forth. So in the meantime, I'm starting to dig in with Edison, and I have a mutual friend that's been with Edison forever, and they're screwing up lighting jobs everywhere because they don't know what the light output puts out. They're just looking at electricity. And I'm telling them, you guys can't take someone from 100% to 20% in electricity, but drop their light levels in half. You know, when the jobs are built, their liability insurance needs so much light throughout. So when someone's getting raped or something, they could see it. So you can't just go off electricity and leave the places half dark. So they really needed me to coach them on keeping the light levels up and saving the electricity at the same time. So after screwing jobs up all over the place and helping them fix them, a friend of mine, which is probably a friend of a few years, Steve Herford, was with Edison forever. So he gets me in front of 50 people, all energy services representatives. And I'm a young kid in my early 20s talking to all these people about lighting. Next thing you know, I'm in Rosemead, Santa Ana, Ventura, Palm Desert, all their main offices, telling everybody how to do energy efficient lighting. And it just blossomed to there. So it went in a big way in the mid to late 80s. I went into business on my own and switched up from being a distributor to manufacturing. And that's where, since 1990 till now, I've been in lighting fixture manufacturing. My company's Evergreen Lighting. We're in Pomona. Started in Santa Fe Springs. And then in 2001, bought this building in Pomona. And I've basically been involved in the energy efficient lighting phase for the last 35 years. Okay. It went from regular light bulbs to fluorescents, and now it's LED. Okay. LED replaced the fluorescents. The problem with fluorescents and why LED stuck in the marketplace is LED is like sand. It's a semiconductor. It's biodegradable, and glass and phosphors are hazardous waste. Getting rid of fluorescent stuff, you got to pay for hazardous waste. It wasn't the future of green energy, the most energy efficient. So you would take, in the early 80s, a 60 watt light bulb, replace it with the same amount of light of 13 watts of fluorescent. And now you take that 13 watts of fluorescent and replace it with the same amount of light of 6 watts of LED. So you keep cutting it in half. But the difference is LEDs rated for 10 years of life. Okay, so your maintenance costs go way down. And I'm a lighting fixture manufacturer, so I basically use the LEDs, which is the motor, and the fixtures is the car. So that's basically how you put the whole thing together. You use the motor into the car, you get full fixtures, and it goes into the marketplace. I've been through the whole manufacturing ring, between having over 80 employees with semi-manual machinery, 120 machines. Over the last 4 years ago, I switched it all up. I replaced all the employees with automated machinery, more qualified people, dropped it from 85 employees to 23, doing the same amount of volume. And having the whole idea for me was having the ability to grow. And it kept, over the years, I've kind of figured a lot of things out the hard way in life. But over the years, it seemed like every time my numbers would grow, my payroll would grow with it, and my workman's comp would follow it. It's very hard to be a manufacturer in California. It really was driving me crazy not being able to grow without the costs following it. So I made a big move. And as I said, gambling, you sign the dotted line for $1.5 million of equipment. I got lasers, I got CNC presses, I got everything. But you're signing personally for it when you've already been doing it for 25 years and you're doing it again. You don't know how it's going to come out. You just know you can't get where you wanted to be before. So I went for it again. It's all worked out. Costs are down. Production is up. People are happy. And then the whole economy stops. No, just kidding. But, no, so in a nutshell, I'm gonna fly through a quick PowerPoint I had if I get on the screen, give you a little 5-minute on the business. And then that'll probably wrap it up. It's around 1 o'clock. And if you have any questions, I could answer some quick questions. But yeah, my whole life outside of the family and coaching a little bit has been the lighting industry. I know it pretty much inside out. And, it's provided a paycheck and meals. That's all you can ask for, right? We're eating. Maybe too well. I don't know. But how do I get my screen? Do I hit share screen on my side? You got your microphones off.
Yeah, you just hit the share screen button down at the bottom.
Oh, okay. All right, so is this, okay, this is me here, right? Okay. Let me see, how do I get, let me see here. Yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do it. Let me see. Oh, here we go.
Audio Jungle. Audio
besides the two that already have? John, you've spent your whole life in West Covina pretty much?
Yeah, you know, when people need to find anybody that has my last name, they find me. And then I direct them to a brother or a sister. But I've been in West Covina, and I probably won't be leaving for a while still. I got my mother-in-law lives in the next lot over, so we're not going to be doing anything until we are, we're not going to abandon her. Let's put it that way. My wife's brothers moved out of town. My whole family's out of town. And we're the caretaker until it's over, unless she wants to move somewhere with us. I'm not going to tell my wife to leave her mom hanging. But they've had a nice place in the South Hills area, West Covina. My wife's family, he was a well-known dentist, Dr. Altman, in across from Pointy Hills. He was over there for like 30 years, and he had a big dentistry there. And he retired. He passed away about 6-7 years ago, but my mother-in-law's in good shape, and we take her a lot of places with us. She loves the kids, and so we're not going anywhere. We'll be here, and so I'll probably be the future president of Rotary for at least 20 years.
Sold. All right. Well, how about we close this up and I'll share the four-way test. And there we go. Everybody can see that. So first,
Is it the truth?
It's the truth.
second,
It's
it fair to all
concerned.
third,
Will it build goodwill
Goodwill and
and
better
better
friendships?
and fourth, will it be
Will it be
beneficial?
beneficial to all concerned?
And fifth,
Is it fun?
is it fun? John, thank you very much for the
Thank
craft
you.
talk.
Thank
Excellent. Very well done.
Thank you.
And like you said, we look forward to the presidency. So
There you go. There you go. If you want to see the Rotary take a dip, then vote me in for sure.
yeah, but we'll have great lighting.
Yes.
Yeah, there you go. Everybody will look 20 years younger, right?
Yeah.
There you go. All right, everybody.
All
Thank
right.
you.
All right. Good job.
So long.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Take care. Bless you guys.